Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world. Talk about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so when you talk about like the vibe of a team and winning and losing and what's the difference between the two, what's the difference between the two specifically with the Raiders? There's not too many people that you can ask who have been closer to the situation than tackle Lincoln Kennedy. Lincoln Kennedy is a former all-pro tackle for the Raiders. He's an all-time great in Raider Nation, and he has his finger on the pulse of what's happening with this team now. And he could contrast that with what the pulse and the vibe was with the team when they were winning back when he was playing. So we're going to take a look at his interview with Eddie Pascal, and upon further review, before we do, I want to make sure everyone please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free to do. And it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watch the video. Okay, enough of that. I sped through this because I want to get right to Lincoln Kennedy.
And my heart is filled to be sitting in the classroom with the professor himself, Lincoln Kennedy. And I'm so curious for your perspective for this, Link. But how as a player do you kind of navigate the vibe, the increase in vibes to like, oh, okay, actually something tangibly is different here with this group?
There's a lot of layers to your question, and I'll start with the basic part. As a player, whether you played here last year or you're coming to the team for the first year or the first time, there's a new energy because there's a new opportunity for you as a player, okay? And that resonates well because there's a new coaching staff. So if you're new to the team, this coaching staff chose you, or this personnel department chose you to come here. So as a player, there's a new opportunity. If you've been here for a while, and if you've been, and there's not that many guys as we are on this roster, but if you've been a Raider for a while, there's always a level of optimism every year coming back because we got a chance. We got a chance. Let's piece this thing together. Somehow, somewhere, the powers above are going to get it right. We're going to figure this thing out. That's what you're optimistic for, okay? And then it kind of trickles downhill. But as a fan, and even as an analyst, is what we do, and speak on what we see. You know, I have to. You know me. I'm gonna keep it level and I'm gonna keep it even. I'm always going to tell you how I feel. I'm gonna take a quote out of AI. It's practice. We're talking about practice.
Yeah.
You can be as optimistic as forever. You can look good in shorts and helmets, but shorts and helmets aren't going to win football games. So being practical and realistic, I like the energy that I've seen from this coaching staff. I like the energy that I've seen on the couple of practices out in the football field. But again, we're talking about practice. So what I'm paying attention to and what I look for, what I come to these things to look for, schematically wise, I know the weaknesses that every team possesses. I know this team's weaknesses, okay? And I know the strengths. I know where they need to be in order to be better and to be competitive. That's what I'm looking for schematic wise. Does it translate? Do I look in the eyes of players out in the practice field and do they look lost? Or can they go 100 miles per hour? Because a coach once told me, even if you make a mistake, make it 100 miles per hour. Just go fast. That's what you look for on this level, the speed on this level. That's what you need. So I'm looking for comprehension. When guys go back to the huddle, are they glossy-eyed? Or when they go to the line of scrimmage and they're looking around, are they glossy-eyed? Does your quarterback have pre-snap reads? Does he use pre-snap reads? And to what avail? Those types of things are what I'm talking about.
How do you gauge success for the offensive line, understanding that like, hey, this is not air quotes football, this is something a little different that has value and you need to do, but isn't necessarily the way to replicate what you're going to see week 6, week 7.
I can't gauge success collectively, but what I can gauge is if a guy has an idea and understanding individually and how that translates to the bigger picture. And what I mean by this, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but as a team, I'm supposed to complement your strengths to overcome, and to help overshadow your weaknesses.
Vice versa.
Same thing goes for offensive line. Collectively, we have strengths and weaknesses, but collectively, we don't want the strengths all to be the same strengths. We don't want the weaknesses all to be the same weaknesses. So much to my earlier point, when I look in a guy's eyes, these days when I'm going and seeing guys in shorts and helmets practice in the trenches, the first thing I look for is stance. How comfortable is he in his stance? Where are his eyes as an offensive lineman? Where are his eyes? Where is he looking? More importantly, his first snap. When he knows the snap count, so he has a slight advantage over the defender. Even though the defensive guy is going to move faster forward than you can backwards as an offensive lineman, you have the advantage of knowing the snap count. How do you use that to your advantage? Little things like that. This is what I determine in practice. Now, when we get into the season play, depending on how they want to do it, are they going to play their starters in preseason? Are we going to get that first look? Or do we have to wait to the regular season? In the past, due to the injuries, like for example, Colton Miller couldn't play in preseason last year because he was nursing an injury. I say that to say this. When you look on last year's line versus what's possible forward, they didn't have a clear group all the time. They were interchanging places. That bodes bad for offensive line. I need to play next to you, Eddie. I need to be next to you. I need to hear you. I need to hear you communicate. I need to watch you play. And I need to learn from that. It's only going to come in time, in a full speed rep. Not practice, in a full speed rep. That's why we wait for the game times.
You know, it's interesting too, and we heard from JPJ last week, I believe, Lincoln, and he was talking about like, look, this is new for him going into year 2. He goes, and obviously the interior guys work along multiple places, because like I'm coming in as the center. Like, how valuable is it for him to kind of have that clarity on his role?
It's immeasurable. I mean, it's priceless, to be honest with you. The think about it, because as a player, I've often talked to guys and said, look, this game is more mental than we know. Everybody can run. That's out there. You know what I mean? Everybody, there are guys who can catch better than others, but, catch a football and run on a football field. How do you translate and process the information in order to be successful? The things that you have to do is you have to put your mind at ease and allow yourself to absorb the information. If you as a teacher stands up in front of a big classroom as a professor and write 100 million things on the board and don't say a word and walk off, do you think most of that class is going to get what you wrote?
No.
Exactly. So it's a matter of how you learn, but how more importantly, how you pattern yourself to be more comfortable. And for JPJ, it's an opportunity for him to say, okay, I know where I'm at. Let me learn this position. Let me make myself the best I can at this position. I'm not dancing around. I'm here center 1 week, a guard, left guard 1 week, right guard 1 week. It's all offensive line play, but it is different in many confines of the word. So my thing is that's a level of comfort that leads to a place of peace to allow you to become a better player. Because now I don't have to worry about where I'm going to play. Now I just need to worry about I need to play.
And it's interesting too, Link, where we talked about, and gosh, not to go back to last year, but the offensive line struggled, right? We have talked countless times about the Raiders' inability to run the football.
Right.
Candidly, at all.
At all.
One of my things that I'm most excited about for this year, the identity of this offense. Because Chip Kelly, the offense that he ran at Oregon was not the offense that we saw last year at Ohio State.
No, it wasn't.
The ability to evolve, assuming that the Raiders can run the ball more effectively than they did a year ago.
Right.
What will that do for Geno Smith in particular, and what he's going to be asked to do in Chip Kelly's offense?
Well, I honestly believe a running game is a quarterback's best friend, okay? Because it takes a lot of the pressure off of him. And yes, we are a part of a pass-happy league, if you will. But you got to have the ability to do that. And the fact is, the greatest thing about football is that it's a team game that requires 11 men to focus on the one main prize at any given time. And a lot of times you don't have that. If you have a guy who's sitting on the line of scrimmage worried about where he's going to go for vacation because the season's almost over, he's distracted, and he becomes a liability rather than an asset. I've always looked forward to the possibility. What I've always thought fondly when it comes to coaching is for coaches to create schemes based on the personnel they have available for them, whatever that is. Now you look at the Raiders scheme with you having 2 productive and good tight ends. How do you make that a part of your offense? Can you afford to go 12 personnel? And here's the thing. When you go 12 personnel, you're going to load the box up. So now you have to have an effective offensive line. This is where the teamwork plays in. More importantly, you've got to have running backs that can get downhill and hit the holes as they see fit. What I've ascertained over the last couple of weeks, or last couple of practices, I should say, is that there is a high regard to use zone blocking schemes when it comes to the perimeter, but the interior, they want to use man blocking schemes, which I'm totally fine with, being able to have that versatility so teams can't just isolate or pin down one type of scheme that try to defend against that. So potentially that's where your offense can go. But, you keep in mind, I've got 2 good tight ends that are capable of stretching the field. Do I bring everybody in and try to run the ball like Stanford did under Harbaugh? When they on the multiple tight end sets, can we be effective that way? Sure, you can be effective that way and open up play action, and there's other opportunities for that. But there are also the fact where you want to try to spread things out and get your guys isolated. And you got a potentially productive offense from the playmaker standpoint. How do you make that work in an everyday situation? And understanding in the division in which we play in, the teams that we're going to play against, most notably in our division, have potent offenses. Right? Offenses that are capable of moving the ball. So there is a part of it in the back of your mind. You have to say, I got to play keep away too. Not only do I have to be productive, move the football and score, but I also got to play keep away because these other offenses are pretty good too.
We look at what Barkley did this year for the Eagles. You look at what Josh Jacobs did in Green Bay. You look at Derrick Henry. It felt like we had this kind of resurgence of running backs in their second act. So my question for you, Link, is the running back, I don't want to say that it ever left, but do you see the trend of maybe the ground and pound coming back a little bit more in 2025, say, than we did in years past?
It's never left. Look at the successful teams. Look at the Eagles. I mean, you could talk about what the Chiefs did in the years prior with their passing game, but even then they still presented a little bit of a running game to keep you honest. You know what I mean? Look, Isaiah Pacheco with the Chiefs has done a phenomenal job, right? And they kind of got a little bit of it back with Kareem Hunt last year. But I think the running game, it's been overshadowed, but it's never left because the importance of a running game, all we have to do is look at our season. When you get a first down and goal on the 3-yard line and you can't get it in, that hurt my heart.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I wasn't playing football, but I'm like, dude, you can't get it in. Hell, we can fall for it for 3 yards, but we can't get it in. And that shows you where you've gotten to a point to where it's almost hopeless. Not totally hopeless, but it's something. Oh my gosh, we got.
But you know what it does, Lincoln? It makes you one-dimensional. Isn't even the right word. Coaches are smart. Coordinators are smart. Players are smart when they know that the guys lining up across from them do not have the ability. On a regular basis to kind of dominate those short yards. It completely changes the face of an offense scheme.
It completely changes the face of the defense.
Yes.
Because when they walk out on the field, they know, oh, I know you guys can't run the football. So if I'm a defensive end, I could just peel my ears back. I know you're going to pass. So let me see if I can get a sack and make a big play.
Yeah. It's one of those things that drove us crazy for 17 weeks last year, and hopefully is not the story of the ground game in 2025. But two guys, Lincoln, that I want to ask about, that's Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant, both in the third round respectively. What do you want to see from them to be effective offensive linemen in this rotation, whether it's in 2025, 2026, or beyond?
Are they coachable? Are they coachable? Does the communication that the offensive line coach or the powers that be around them, does the communication resonate and come through? Can it stick? Do you understand what I'm talking about? I don't want to be talking over your head. These are things that I would say if I'm a coach in that room. Because here's the thing. Just like any other setting, you're bringing men from all over the place, play different levels of football, different styles and different eras and different places. You're bringing them all together and you're trying to make them one. I'm trying to make them a Raider. Are they coachable? If they're coachable, we can work with things. But one of the biggest fears I ever had, and one of the reasons why I didn't go into coaching, is because I would have taken offense to some young man to say, oh, I got it, coach. I got it. I would have thrown a stapler at the back of his head. Like, you ain't got nothing. You don't know nothing. You're not about nothing. But those are some of the uncoachable guys because it doesn't sit home. They think they know it all. There's a certain level of confidence and athleticism that you need to possess in order to be on this level. But like I've told many young men who've came here, it's not about just getting to the NFL. It's learning how to stay in the NFL. And the biggest thing that you have to do when you stay in the NFL is, one, you have to be available. Can't make the club in the tub, so you got to play. Second thing is you got to take coaching. It's not as extreme as it was for us, Eddie, in high school or college, but it still resonates when it comes to scheme, overall thought process, and if it resonates from the coach down to the players within the system, if the system can be successful, it will be successful because there goes that mental part again.
When you were a rookie in the NFL, again, trying to figure it out, like who were the guys that you looked around and you said, okay, he's doing it the right way? Like he might be different than me, right? He might be an interior lineman, he might be a linebacker, but he's one of the guys that's doing it the right way that I need to model the way that I do it after him.
Well, I was soaking up everything around me because when I was drafted, came to Atlanta, and I felt there was a lot of pressure on my shoulder being a first-round draft choice, and there was a high priority in order to help make this offense go. The reason why we drafted you, Lincoln. And so my first year I played left guard. And I played next to Jamie Dukes, who was my center, and then Mike Ken, who was my tackle. And the whole thought process is when Mike Ken retires, you're going to take over his spot. So we're going to get you acclimated and get you playing right away. So to answer your question, Eddie, I soaked everything up like a sponge. I listened to everything. I wrote everything down. I tried to, hey, do this, try to run full speed and do that because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to help the team. And that's all that I had known in my short football career. But it didn't come easy. I mean, it played in a system that was not conducive to my strengths. Did not feel comfortable. And then even after my first year, when I got moved back to tackle, I was playing right tackle. But by then I had already been in the bad terms with the head coach. So it was like an uphill battle. And that's one of the reasons why I got out of there and became a Raider. But that goes back to the meaning of my statement earlier, is not when you get here, learn how to stay here, because you have to be able to acclimate and adjust to the situation, the surroundings around you. Everything's not going to be, roses and come up glorified like that. There are going to be some hard times. What do you do with that? And how do you become the best investment in yourself that you can be?
Yeah, and I think that's what we're like collectively looking for this group, right? I know we've talked a lot about the offensive line today, but kind of zooming that out and seeing how does everyone kind of respond to Pete? How does this roster respond to Geno as the quarterback? 2025, and I've said this a lot, Link, is going to be a year of new.
Right.
And I think that's really exciting. New coach, new GM,
right.
new quarter. Like there's a whole bunch of things that are going to be fresh and exciting, and it'll be really interesting to see just the collective response of this group. And it's one thing, again, we talk about storylines to follow. Like it's one I'm going to be watching as we get to camp and certainly through preseason and the regular season. Well, Lincoln, I mean it. It's so good to see you in person, and this is so much better. But Link, brother, enjoy a little time away.
Enjoy the family time. Have a good summer. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother, you got it.
Really in-depth interview there. I really liked a lot of the things that Lincoln Kennedy said. One of the things that really resonated to me is you got to be coachable. When you hear a lot of the veterans talk about any one of the rookies, right, on this team, is they're locked in, they're ready, they're listening. They're asking questions. They know their stuff when they get on the field. They pay attention during meetings. These are things that not necessarily you're born with, but something that you need to acquire over time. These are guys that are all supreme athletes, right? A lot of times, some of these supreme athletes go through life just kind of getting by on their athleticism. And like Lincoln Kennedy said, when you get to the NFL, everyone can run. Everyone's fast. Everyone's big. Everyone's strong. Everyone's quick. Everyone, knows what they're doing out there. How well can you take the coaching from the staff who's trying to help make you better? And I second him. One of the things that I hated the most when I was coaching is, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I know. Well, first off, if you know, why am I talking to you about it? Because obviously you screwed up. I'm not talking to you about it to hear myself talk, to hear my voice, number one. Number two, if you know, why didn't you do it? Right? So that's one of the things that really bugs me too. I kind of smirked a little bit when he said that. But the thing that we have to look at here, he talked a lot about the offensive line, because the offensive line does need to get much better this next season, because all the improvements that we've made, Geno Smith and drafting the wide receivers and getting, Michael Mayer back and getting the running backs and all these things that we did for the offense does not mean anything unless the offensive line improves greatly from last season. There's no way we can win any amount of games being the last ranked team in total rushing yards per game, and average yards per rush. There's no way we can do it. We have to get better at it. We have to give Geno Smith time. Geno Smith showed you his first 2 seasons in Seattle when he was starting. When you give him time, he's going to be able to make things happen. And if you don't give him time, it's going to be rough. You have to have a good running game. You have to protect him. If you can do those things, Geno Smith can be excellent as a quarterback. So Lincoln Kennedy was an offensive lineman. He talks a lot about the offensive line, and I think it was a great kind of focus on the line and what it's going to take moving forward for the Raiders to be successful in 2025. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free to do, and it's the bare minimum you do support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watching the video. Guys, keep doing what you're doing, man. I really appreciate it. You're liking, you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're doing all that stuff. Make sure to share it to your socials, hit the notification buttons, and also, please, tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody. Raiders versus the world's greatest thing going on Raider Nation today. All right, guys, that's my time. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.